I'm so excited to be here. I'm all smiles. I'm so excited to be here. It has been a journey. Thank you for this opportunity, Gladys. To be in the Momentum 90, it has been quite a good journey for me. It has taught me how to live life, picking lessons. It has taught me how to be intentional with my activities, may it be at work, at home, the reflections that I do in every situation that I do, whatever activity that I'm doing, I'm a different person. I'm a different person. I'm so delighted that I joined in into the Momentum 90 when it started. Thank you so much, Dr. Mogire. And I'm really looking forward to 2025 end because all the foundations that have been laid, I've already started seeing the fruits. I've already starting the seeing the fruits. These are things that I've learned that I couldn't have learned anywhere in school, doing a PhD or whatever other category. I'm so super grateful. Looking forward to today's session. Thank you. Back to you, Gladys.
Thank you. Let's applause Mercy. She says she's different. She may need to reintroduce herself to her family and friends because they won't know who she is. Shiro Wamwangi, my accountability group partner, please share with us. Where were you? What's the process like? Where are you now?
Okay. Good morning, family. Good evening, Doc. For me, I can say there are so many things that I have learned, but the one thing that possibly I can share on top of everything else is I have finally resigned myself to the fact that I am a leader. I have always been running away from that in every space. So just embracing the scaffolds and knowing that the Courage Act is going to build a better me and the 5 transformations. I have finally just accepted that, and it has really made a huge change in terms of how I do things. So now I've stopped being an escapist and I've become an action master. And maybe I can also share. I'm sure most of you had seen that I was putting together some study groups for the Embody book. So that as well, being able to put that together and being able to share with the new people. I was just going through my notes and I was realizing things that were an issue for me when we started studying the book in June are obsolete completely now that I am doing this with the new people. So that being able to see that notable growth, being able now to actually establish and highlight new issues where I need growth and being able to see that growth has actually happened is so encouraging for me. And I would just like to encourage all of us to keep going. Let today not be the end. Let today be the beginning of your own personal accountability. Find somebody, create a group. Don't walk alone. Like they say, if you want to walk far, you have got to walk together. So accountability is not a consequence. Accountability is ownership of what it is that you actually want to do. Yeah. Thank you, Gladys.
Wow, thank you, Shiro. And thank you for reminding us that Embody is best read together in a family. Doc, you want to say something?
Oh, no, yes. I was just saying yes. I
Thank
agree.
you so much, Shiro. I must tell you that walking this journey with accountability group, Shiro being one of them, has really sharpened me. And thank you for being in that group. I would like to invite Mercy Shelashaw and then a gentleman in the group who is in the group would like to share with us their journey. Yes, Mercy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, so for me, there's been so much transformation since last year. So what happened when Gladys called us for for a cup of tea after we finished the breakthrough last year. I happened to join the tea. We went with Shiro and a few other people, and that's how the accountability group was formed. So obviously I had been having my struggles of procrastinating, trying to avoid doing the hard things in life. Like I think I told myself, like, like life is about just the things that make you happy or fun or what you consider your fair. So I had told myself so many things that limited me from just being myself. So anyway, so I joined the accountability partner. And since we had shared the breakthrough challenge, I felt it was the group I needed to be. And all I did was copy Gladys, like every morning, do what she did. When I'm stuck and ask her questions, do exactly what she told me. And I'm so happy to say I'm so consistent with my morning reset. It's anchored my day. It helped me understand how to pick emotions, really feel how a magnificent day will look like envision it and live it. And then the second thing I've also experienced is I think I lived my life also blaming people, and particularly my dad, about my big failures, and yet I was avoiding to do the work. And so I've been in the journey, I've been able to establish all that and realize when those moments come, and I've really, really grown. My business has grown exponentially. I'm just a different person.
Wow.
Introducing the new Mercy Chela show, forgiveness, growth, personal work. Wow. I'm calling for a gentleman in the group before I transition to my own. I think if there's any gentleman in the group, I can't see them on video, so please volunteer yourself.
Hi, Gladys.
Hi.
Yeah, my name is Kingsley. I thought I'd take up the chance to represent the male side of things. Yeah. So good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Kingsley.
Good morning.
Yeah. So I think if I was to narrate my journey before I met Doc, it's simply running around like a headless chicken, for a better lack of words. And I think what this program has meant for me, it's given me perspective in the sense of I'm able to not only focus on the things that I need to do, but I'm also able to see myself as I do these things. I think Doc has really the through the through Doc's program, it's been able to get me to a level of self-awareness that I previously was not working with. And for that I am forever grateful. I've been able to, I think the changes that I've seen, I've been able to actually address various issues through systematic action. I've been able to go ahead and get back my time to say the least. I'm still working on that for sure, but I can tell that this year is going to be a different year for the kind of Kingsley that interacts with people is not the same Kingsley that was doing that last year. So I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you, Kingsley, for representing the Gen Zs and also the gentleman in the house. Finally, participant number one, every meeting. Paula.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good evening, Doc. Wow. I'm actually just quickly noting down what this challenge has been to me. So for number one, with certainty, my 2025 started on such a positive spiral. Previous years, I think my start of the year has just been more or less the same, but this certainly feels different. From the state of being in confusion, I don't know for how long I have been in that state of confusion, but with this, there's so much clarity that now is I'm getting aligned to what I really want. I'm not all over the place. The second thing, I had shelved projects. I have always shied away from, taking on projects for one, fear of, what do you call it? Imposter syndrome, fear, and all that. But I can confirm that 2 of my projects this year are out of those shelves. And one has already taken effect. Probably by next week, I have someone I'm working with. So that for me is it's huge. It's huge to say the least. Another thing is the mindset shift. In 2024, I was down. I was in pits, for lack of a better explanation. And I remember just praying and asking God, please, I need your help. Please help me, help me, help me change my mind, help me be better. And through an angel, and she knows she's just my guardian angel, and she's here among us. She's the one who led me to this program, and this for me was an answered prayer. So I feel my mindset, it's never going to be the same. I just pray that I have the grace to carry it on and to be consistent with it. Then another thing is consistency. I lag in consistency, but this program has really helped me. And one final thing that I would also want to say is being in the right space, in the right coaching space, makes all the difference. I say this from a point of I have attended a certain coaching, and instead of leaving feeling inspired and, making progress, you leave derailed, you leave regretting. This for me it's a total game changer, and I am honestly looking forward to what the year has. And yeah, I don't even think the sky is the limit. It's beyond. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow. Thank you all for sharing. If we haven't given you a platform to share, please share on the chat. I know everybody has a story. And here is my story. First season 1, I thought of all the people on my phone book who needed season 1, and I didn't think I was one of them. Can you believe it? I thought, really, let me just attend so that I can have more content to give people who need it. Little did I know, I needed a lot of self-healing. I needed a lot of self-care. I'd been out there pouring out in the world, and I was empty. I never thought of midlife crisis, but here I was in my 50s thinking I knew who I was, but I didn't. By the end of that season, I was fully aware that my identity was not pegged on other people's opinion. It was pegged on the intentionality to declare and determine that I am a leader, I am a role model, and I am a solutions provider. I thought that every action I did was to achieve a certain goal, but then I left that season asking of every action, why am I doing it? So what if I do it? If I couldn't answer those 2 questions, then I couldn't proceed with the action. I became a leader. I became a problem solver, not by writing it down, but by doing it every month. I actually didn't realize the power, the depth of transformation until I joined the accountability group after. And 6 months later, I was testifying of things and projects that had become fruitful because of the journey. So you might not realize the output at the close of this. Please keep at it. By the time it is June, you will be testifying. Then come November 2024, imagine a second season. I was signing up, and now I rallied my entire family and anybody I knew to join the program. When I joined, I was fully aware that the cost of joining was participation. The cost of joining was applying what I had learned. It was not important to come and hear and get excited with what everybody else is sharing in the group. The most important thing was to go and apply. So I chose to pick one thing that I needed to apply every day. Of course, continuing with accountability. My greatest win in this season has been the systems champion. So first I got into action, and in November I was like, there's so many things I'm doing, but they're not giving me the important results. So November, we were in motion to just eliminate what is not giving you action. And you cannot believe I was a chauffeur for so many things that were not necessary for me. So when I forced myself to stop chauffeuring for other people, and I don't have a PSV license, I literally feel so much time on my hands. Yes, I freed that time, and now I'm able to continue even having other accountability groups, other sharing forums that I could get started. Then the second thing was in December, when we're talking about the clarity vision. I want to thank my accountability group and those who agreed to work with me during the 2 weeks of Christmas. Imagine we had no Christmas. We sat and refined our accountability. Esther Irongo, if you're there, yes, I woke you up on Christmas Day at 5:30 a.m. and we did it. And on January, we launched. We launched the clarity. I can tell you, Esther used to think that she can't do it. And now she's the one who wakes me up. Vision clarity drives you. We moved from just doing things haphazardly, from pushing our vision to being pulled by the vision. Then come January and the reality of the scaffolding. Building that inner courage to address your definite choices, refining the decision to become who you have. I like the analogy of, is your vision in ICU? Do you need to treat it with the urgency of an ICU, or do you want to just say, by the way, when I pass through the hospital, I'll have the doctor check me? Or do you really need to put the things in place? So for me, it has been the system, making sure that I stop comparing people. I stop comparing ideals. I stop comparing what is working in the big multinational or big people like Sylvia who run their own businesses. I put in place my own systems. The action door has helped me to act. The evidence door is real, even the power hour. Courage for external and internal. But for me, it is the systems door that has totally transformed who I am. I'm always on the road 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. I was on the venue for my destination at 5:45. I arrived earlier because I knew I couldn't be saying that, oh my God, I'm on the road. No, it is a system to put in place so that you embrace your consistently, embrace your accountability to the functions you sign up for. Ladies and gentlemen, I am consistent Nyambura consistent. Gladys Muhunyo is known by the world, but I'm known to myself as my own true identity. I am not just appearing. I am becoming the results that I want to truly be. And as I close, let me share the Atomic Habits quote that we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our system. So I'm raising my systems on higher ground. This is the year I am ready. It is time. Are you? Back to you, Dr. Mogire.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I want to just sit. I just want to sit and think through everything that you have shared, starting with you, Gladys, and thank you everyone who has reflected. Gladys, before you go, I have a question among the participants here. I think you probably are one who has one of the broadest experiences, having, because you have been through the 2 seasons of the Momentum Challenge and you were in the Breakthrough Challenge, and life happened, so you missed out on the Transformation Challenge. But if you could narrow, I know for this, I have seen it, I know for this season, moving from action to clarity to systems has been very obvious, and you verbalized it many times. That has been, but this is on the foundation of the 2 previous challenges. Momentum 90, the previous season was about business. It was about my business, your business, and God's business. Sometimes we get stuck because we stop dealing with our business. We start doing other people's business. We are invested more in Gachagua's impeachment and vaccination of cows and in everything else except our own business. And then, of course, the other business we try to do is God's business. It's too cold. Every morning, you're living in the same area, you're living in Limuru, but every morning it's too cold. It's too cold. It's too hot. Everyone else's business except my business, which during that season we called business studies. Taking care of many of you already know what business studies means. What did you take from what is the one thing you remember you took away from Momentum 90 the previous season followed by the Breakthrough Challenge, and then now Momentum 90 this season.
Thank you, Doc. The first item of Momentum 90, I stopped being good. You know, good does not put your goals to fruition. I'm a good girl. I was raised to be good and to argue with people. And that for me was not, it was almost like I'm doing other people's business. So I stopped being good. I started being intentional.
Wow.
I stopped taking excuses for not doing my work and starting looking for evidence to what I wanted to do. And the only way I could do that is to create time outside of how I have to deal with people. I was on a rural project. So from 8 to 5, I had to do other people's work. So I needed to make time from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. to do my work. And that has never stopped to date. From 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., I'm seated doing my work. In the evening, of course, you have family. So the biggest thing for me was to stop being good and start being intentional. And for all respect for those who are good Christians like I am, yes, we were told to, the only thing we should lift is people in prayer, but you start lifting to do your work. So we lift people in prayer, but we do our work. We lift and do the work. The second season of the breakthrough, it was just to understand, so what is stopping you from launching the project? What exactly is stopping you? So the emotional resistance was the big thing for me.
Yeah.
In fact, when Doc would tell us to repeat a project, I used to feel like, honestly, Doc, what do you mean we redo the project? How? I have done it to the, so when we repeat, I was really facing a lot of emotional resistance. So for me, for that challenge was just to deal with, just don't do emotional intelligence, emotional connection, deal with your emotional resistance. If there's a task now, so that season it was a task on my desk that I knew how to do it. I had the resources and the skills to do it, and I still had not done it. Then I was facing emotional resistance. And one of them was financial management of my system. Why was I not doing the financial analysis of the system? And that helped me to have the critical conversation of money with myself. Money is not evil. It is a friend. It is a tool to be used like any other thing. Now, this is on, for me, systems all go. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Gladys. Thank you. I have to tell you, I've never told you this, Gladys. You are the main reason I ran this year's challenge. Because I skipped the transformation challenge. There was a lot happening in my life. I was moving. I had had a family loss, but because of you, Gladys, just because you attended every single meeting of the Momentum 90, the previous season, every single meeting of the Breakthrough Challenge, not a single day you came late, even when you were on the road, you still logged in. Every single time you are going to leave the meeting early, you let me know. If you're not going to be on video, you let me know. You have inspired me. You have no idea how much I have learned from you as an individual to individual. So thank you so much for agreeing to share your experience today. For everyone else that has reflected, for those who you will keep hearing about their transformations, this season, the Momentum 90 borrowed the curriculum of the Transformation Challenge. We were speaking about 5 transformations. You are stuck because the transformation you need, you have not activated it. The 5 transformations are going from procrastination to action. So sometimes you are stuck because you have good ideas, but you're not acting on them. So that is the first transformation. And each transformation, because I run a business called the House of Mastery. So each transformation resides in a transformation room. So that first transformation resides in the action room. You go into that room and you leave procrastination at the door and you start taking the actions required. The second transformation is going from confusion to clarity. Sometimes you're taking action, but you are running around in circles. You're expending a lot of energy, but you're not heading anywhere. So after you get out of inertia, go from procrastination to action, you need clarity. so that you don't compound your confusion by having too many options on the table. And you get into the clarity room, you leave confusion at the door, and you start focusing on one thing. After you, if you do them in sequence, but if that is what you need, then that's probably the most important thing, the second transformation, confusion to clarity. The third transformation is probably the most powerful. It's going from chaos to systems. After you start taking actions, then it becomes clear what you need to do, and you have clarity why you are doing it. Now you need a system. The value of a system is to make your success repeatable, predictable, reliable. You know what you will do. Whether you get results or not, that's a different thing. You know what you will do, when you will do it, for how long, with who, with what resources. Going from chaos to systems. The fourth transformation is extremely powerful because this is where you expand beyond your comfort zone. The first three have to happen within your comfort zone, because sometimes you're trying to adopt new things, you're trying to reach out for something that is outside, but you're not even dominating where you are. You begin by dominating where you are. If you dominate, if you are in a bucket, if you fill that bucket with enough water, the water will overflow. So you won't have to worry about expanding your comfort zone. If you feel the bucket you're in, it will expand. The fourth transformation is the transformation of going from doubt to confidence, going from self-doubt to self-trust, going from where you don't even buy your own word to where you can trust your own word. When you set a goal, forget about obstacles. If sometimes we set a goal, we know we will not show up and go to the gym consistently. So the traffic and external obstacles don't matter, because we have already failed in the fourth transformation, going from doubt to confidence to courage. The final transformation is the overall transformation. It is going from mere dreams to results, going from mere dreams to evidence, going from mere dreams to prove that you are heading in the direction you are heading. So that if you want to build a big business, you write that in the dream book and leave it there, but you walk out and call your first client. If you can document that you've called your first 100 clients, now we can say you have a dream of building that business. Those are the 5 transformations. Going from procrastination to action, from confusion to clarity, going from chaos to systems. You stop being a firefighter and start putting out fires and preventing fires. Going from doubt to confidence. And finally, going from merely dreaming about it to creating and documenting evidence that you are on this journey. That has been the crux of what we have been covering. And now today, you have the rare privilege to hear from the one person. When my name comes to my mind, I think about being systematic and being intentional. And there are so many stories that I could give about Dr. Keith Dindi, cardiac surgeon, and he is probably the most incisive mind you will ever interact with. You are going to have fun listening to Dr. Keith Dindi. Dr. Keith is married to Dr. Esther Dindi, internal medicine physician. They worked together in Moi University, and I always looked up to them. So I'm going to present to you Dr. Keith Dindi, who will be speaking about clarity and giving you a call to action. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Dr. Keith Dindi. Daktari, karibu sana.
Asante sana. Thanks so much. Dr. Mogire, and I'm excited to be here. Happy to see all of you. This really feels like home. As I just listened to the amazing stories of transformation from across the board. Gladys, well done. That is the stuff of greatness. Yeah, this is my community. I don't know why I've not been here before. You'll be seeing me here a lot, my brother Job. Because of time, I just want to dive in and share with you guys a few things that I'm really passionate about. When you're talking about transformation, when you're talking about changing the world, when you're talking about moving from procrastination to action, that kind of talk excites my heart. And today I wanted to share with you guys a little from my experience and story, because I believe when we open up to the stories of our lives, that is how transformation happens through the avenues of relationship and vulnerability. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of stories. I really, really love storytelling. I don't know if any of you guys grew up in the villages where grandma would gather you at the end of the day before you went to bed and she would start telling some stories. And I really loved those stories that grandma would give. She would sing as part of the storytelling, and that is the only bit that I never quite got right. So there'll be no music today, but there'll be plenty of stories. Um, I want to start with four concepts quickly. The first one, I like to call it the lie of perfection. And this is a story that illustrates that very well. So in February of 2016, Valentine's Day, actually, Valentine's Day is coming up. And so, Job, I hope you have some plans. But on Valentine's Day of 2016, S and I were seated at a fantastic resort near the Mara, and so we had this nice bush breakfast. Where I come from, we are romantic gentlemen, and so Valentine breakfast does not find us in our normal homes. So we were just having conversation with Esther, and I was asking her, so what is it that you'd really love to do with your life? And she said she would really love to work with ladies and develop a program that would help women in the area of fitness and wellness. Now, she'd been telling me this for a long time. By that time, we had been married more than 15 years. And so I'd had it over and over and over again. But she'd never done anything about it. Now, Esther is a perfectionist. She likes everything just right. All the T's crossed, all the I's dotted. She loves to do things very well. And so she said, I'm not yet ready. I really want to prepare until I feel I'm really, really ready to get going. But at the back of my mind, I knew I needed to do something radical. So when we got home the next day, I went up on Facebook. I set up a page. I knew the name that she'd always played around with without her knowledge. So I set it up. I called it Dr. Fitness page. I put up her phone number, and I put an announcement and I said, Dr. Fitness is here to help women achieve their goals in health and fitness. And if you need some help, this is a number, call, and Dr. Fitness will be here to help you. Never told her anything. Now, that evening, somebody called. A lady called in, and Esther is not aware, so she's seeing her phone is ringing. Then someone says, "Oh, I'm so and so. I'm so excited about what you're doing with Dr. Fitness, and I would love you to help me." And she's looking around, and I'm across the room, and I'm feeling guilty, but I'm just showing her thumbs up sign. So yes, that's how she gets going. At the end of that call, she's very unhappy with me. And so we have what I like to call animated discussions. Is a euphemism for a serious argument. But because of that, she ends up beginning this journey. She was not ready. She did not feel like it was a perfect moment, but the business was born. And I can tell you that business, anytime we travel now across the world, there is no city we've been to where women will not come to her and say, "Thank you so much for Dr. Fitness. This is what it has meant for me over the years. Thank you so much for the training that I've experienced from you." So she's had transformation for thousands of women across the world. That business has given us millions of money, I can tell you, millions of money over the years. And she's been featured on, in fact, she ran a daily TV program. So it was amazing, all because I decided this story of preparation needs to end. At the end of the day, One of the most sophisticated ways of hiding our fears is in something we call preparation. And so many of us like to camouflage our fears in the cloak of preparation. And they say, I am getting ready. And because we're very bougie, we say we want things to be perfect. And yet the truth of it is that perfection is just another way of hiding our deepest fears. And so the greatest camouflage of our fears is this word called perfection. Let me give you another quick story that illustrates this. 2011, there was a doctor strike. And at that time, doctors were being paid very badly. There are some figures I cannot mention here. You guys might lose all the respect you have for doctors. But we were being paid terribly. And so during the doctor strike, I realized that if the government failed to pay us for just 3 months, I would not even have money for rent. And so I said something needs to change. And so we started thinking about ideas for business and we racked our brains. Finally, at the end of that year, we came up with an idea and we decided this is a business that we think we can run. The trouble was to do that business, I needed to get some specific training that was being done in India. And the cost of that training was 4 times our combined salaries, Esther and I. If we didn't do anything, like you take your gross salary put together, 4 times that. That was the cost of the training. We didn't have that kind of money. And so we kept thinking, where can we talk to a few people? It was just so difficult to get some resources going. But I felt this deep conviction in my heart that this was something we needed to do. It would transform our financial life. In December of 2012, I wrote to the school that I was to go to in India, and I told them, I'm coming over. I'll be participating in this course. And they said, you must pay the full fee before you come. And I told them, no trouble. I will pay when I get there. And these are my ticket details. Can you organize for someone to pick me from the airport? I had no, I had no fee. Literally, I had no fee. We've been trying to collect money. We just not gotten the figure. But there was a deep conviction in my heart. We were not ready financially, but there was, I could feel the beat of destiny in my heart. And so I traveled to India without the full fee. And when we got there, I kept chatting back with my wife, asking her, because she was checking the accounts, had somebody sent in some money, had somebody come through. The next morning, when we were going to do the registration at this institution, there was a long queue of people from across the world who were coming to do this course. And I was moving closer and closer to the registration desk, and I didn't have the cash. All I had was my bank card, believing that by the time I got to the front, something would have happened somewhere. Crazy, I don't know. Sometimes we do crazy things because of the conviction in our hearts. And so I kept chatting, Esther. Literally, with just one person ahead of me, I got a message from her. Somebody had just deposited into our accounts the exact difference that we needed to get us into that course. And so boldly, I gave my card and swiped, and I was feeling very nice, confident. We did the course, came back home, very excited about getting this business going. At that time, I remember we needed exactly 600,000 shillings to pay for the venue where we'd be having this biashara, and they needed, of course, the deposit, all that process. Everything came to about 600,000. We didn't have that money. And so I told Esther, I think this is a place, we love it, something will come through. And as we were talking with people again, trying to get things going, in my mind, I knew we needed to get something going very soon. And so I started getting word out and all. Long story short, there's a lady that came to sell us a product. She was actually selling to us. And she asked, so how are you doing? And we're telling her, this is what we are planning to do. We are not able to buy your products now because we are focusing on getting our business going. But we're just trying to get some resources to get that going. And she says, how much do you need to get that going? He told her 600,000. A stranger, ladies and gentlemen, a stranger, first time meeting, gave us 600,000 shillings. And she said, this is without interest. Whichever time you guys will be able to pay, you do it, but you guys get this. I love your passion for this biashara. That business got going. A few years later, I remember one day in that biashara really moved my heart when you were able to make in one day the total amount of money we paid as fees for that course, there is a day we made that money in one day. And so I just thought about it. What if we waited for the right moment? What if we said, let us wait for enough money to come through? What if we waited? Perfection is truly the enemy of progress. Number two, let's talk about procrastination. I like to call it the trap of procrastination. And again, a few stories. There's a gentleman when I was a medical officer. I remember I was in my 20s, early 20s, and so I was feeling very young. I was working in Nyeri, the provincial hospital then, and I was feeling very young and youthful. And then there were these guys that would be in the wards, old men. So there was this gentleman that was in his 80s. He had prostate cancer. I could tell he was on his way out. And so we started having conversation with him one day, and he told me something that just hit me like a ton of bricks. He told me, Daktari, the way I see you now, I know you're feeling very young, but he told me I was 20 years old yesterday. And as I thought about it, I realized that, whoa, one day you're 20 and the next day you're in your 80s on your way out. The day after we had that conversation, this gentleman passed on. But those words stuck with me because I realized that we are not here forever. I like to say that opportunities have a half-life. They will not always be here. I read a quote somewhere that said, the greatest form of arrogance is to imagine that God owes us tomorrow. And that is what procrastination is. Procrastination is thinking that God owes us tomorrow, that definitely I'll be around tomorrow to do this, which is not true. Opportunities have a half-life. When you think about business, many of us know about return on investment, ROI, we like to call it. But I wonder how many of us think about what I call COI, or the cost of inaction. Do we think about the cost of not doing anything? The cost of inaction, COI. A gentleman came to see us a few months ago, very young guy in his early 20s, and he was having some difficulty in swallowing. And when I hear someone having difficulty in swallowing, all the alarm bells go off on my mind because I'm very worried about something we call cancer of the esophagus, nasty disease. If caught early, there's something we can do surgically. We guys operate and we can offer someone cure. But if caught late, there's very little we can do. And so this young man came in and we found, yes, he had cancer in his esophagus, but it was early. And we felt we can operate on him and literally offer him cure. So this gentleman told me, let me go and talk to my family. Let's have conversation. We see what we can do. When he disappeared, a month down the line, 2 months, 3 months, we tried calling them. The next time I saw this gentleman, when he came to hospital, it was almost 6 months in. His eyes were yellow. He was very emaciated. I looked at him. I just knew we had lost our window of opportunity. He had gone, taken some herbs, and now when we looked at his esophagus again, the tumor had grown. It was no longer resectable, as we like to call it. The cost of inaction. What is your procrastination costing you? Not just you as a person, but can you imagine the people that depend on you stepping up the plate to be the kind of person you're created to be? When you step up into that plate, you serve others. The world is waiting for your greatness. Please don't be caught up in the trap of procrastination. There is not only a return on investment, but there is a cost of inaction. Third, I'd like to quickly talk about what I like to call the pit of indecision. And so when you think about indecision, we think mainly about maybe being stuck between two choices, deciding do we take the left route or the right route. But the way in which I wanted to talk about indecision in this case is a little different. And because of time, let me just narrow down to the main area of focus. Indecision here I look at it from the perspective of leaving all options open. Many times we know of the popular myth that it's good to diversify. It's good to leave all options open. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. We've had a lot of that common wisdom. But I've realized, having worked over the last 20 something years, that greatness only comes with focus. When you narrow your focus, you multiply your impact. And so when you stop at the valley of indecision and you're just thinking, let me leave all these options open, essentially what you're saying is that you don't really want to become a master in any one area. There can be no mastery without focus. It just never happens. The process of becoming great is the same for everyone. We learn something, we practice something, we become masters at that something, then we are now able to be creative and play around and truly innovate. So innovation does not come when you're learning. It does not come when you're practicing. It only comes after you have mastered something so well. And we usually say the true test of mastery is not doing something so many times until you get it right. But the true test of mastery is that you've done something so many times until you can't get it wrong. And so if you get to that point, then you're able to start to be creative, to innovate. And you can't do that without focus. The other time I was talking with my daughter about my medical journey, and she said, Dad, you've been studying medicine for more than I have been alive. And as I thought about it, I said, goodness gracious, it is actually true. Because we spent 6 years in medical school, 1 year internship, 3 years as a general practitioner, 5 years studying to become a general surgeon, worked as a general surgeon, spent 3 years to do heart surgery, then 2 years to do fellowship again in a specific area of heart surgery. Like, if you put all those years together, it's ridiculous. But that's what it takes to become truly great at one thing. And when you become awesome at one thing, when you become world class, if we can mention your name and think about one thing that you are really, really good at, it's at that point that you have the permission. The world now gives you the permission to start to diversify. You can start to do because there is something you're truly world class at. And so my question to you guys today is, what is the one thing that you're world class in? What will we know you for? Even guys who've diversified. I know Bill Gates is now thinking about fatting cows. But when you think about Bill Gates, you still remember him for Microsoft. At the end of the day, when we mention Gladys, what will you be known for? When you talk about Kingsley, what is the one thing that we know? If we want an expert, we go to Kingsley. So in decision, for me, it's leaving all options open. Even when we're asking people to get married, one of the things we say is forsaking all else and clinging on to just you. Some people have indecision in that area as well. So at the end of the day, you have to be willing to say, this is the one thing I will focus on. And that gives you permission to be amazing. There can be no mastery without focus. Lastly, let me talk about the freedom of action. At the end of the day, there is nothing that will give you freedom like being a person of action. Sometimes you'll do something, the results might not be as exciting, but that is how you learn. So there's no pain of regret. Because as I have sat, especially with people on their dying days, and the work we do, I mean, it's just the reality. There's a time I was working in Australia, in Melbourne, and the average age of my patients was 75. So when people are on their last days on earth, dying patients, people do not complain about the things that they did. They're always talking about the opportunities they let go, the relationships they should have worked on. At the end of the day, when you become a person of action, you live a truly free life. To me, freedom is about action. And when you allow yourself to rise to that level where when ideas come, you don't dilly-dally with them. January of this year, actually January 1st, I woke up in the morning And in the night, I had struggled to sleep because there was a word called anchor in my mind. I just couldn't sleep. But in the morning when I woke up, a whole concept came, and it was so clear to me that I needed to do a coaching program that I would call Anchor. When I woke up that morning, by midday of that morning, I had already put up a poster and put it out and told people I'll be running a coaching program called Anchor. I had not even shot one video. That is what action is about. And so I put word out, and people started to say, yes, I'm interested in this. And then I quickly started shooting the videos. Long story short, this month of January, I've run an anchor class. Hundreds of people participated, made more than 1 million shillings from this one class, and the impact has been amazing. Reason being, I did not think, let me see how to organize myself and perfect this thought. Then maybe next month or maybe in June, the idea came with a lot of strength. The conviction was deep, and I actioned it. Ladies and gentlemen, action separates people. That is what it boils down to. And that's how you get the freedom to live the life of your dreams, when you become a man or woman of action. The deeper thing, and I'm really glad that I've had it mentioned here a number of times, the reason why we don't take action, the reason we procrastinate a lot, the reason we're even distracted. Some people think, oh, I'm just very easily distracted. That is not true. We like to hide our fears. It's easier to say I'm distracted than to say I'm afraid. And so when we learn to overcome those fears, and how do you overcome those fears? We do that by understanding who we truly are. In my anchor coaching, I call it identity-based coaching. Who are you? Because when you get a glimpse of who you truly are, you understand that God never made anything to fail. There's nothing God made that fails. So even for you, when God made you and put that assignment in your heart, everything it takes to succeed is already in you. And so even the journey to becoming is not becoming a different person. It's really a journey back home. It's a journey back to who you actually truly are. And so when you start to take the journey back home, I'd like to say, introducing you to you. When you start to see you as you really are, you realize you are unstoppable. There is nothing that God has put in your heart that you do not have the ability to execute with excellence. And at the end of the day, when you start being a person of action, you start making a difference, not just for yourself, but for the whole of society. I want to end this by talking about one clear circle of activity. When you innovate from your identity, so you innovate, in other words, you're creative based on who you truly are. When you innovate from your identity, you then implement with courage. And when you implement, you start to get feedback. And when you get feedback, you iterate. And so for me, it's always that same process: innovation, implementation, iteration. All this done from a point of understanding who I truly am. And that is how we change the world. Ladies and gentlemen, birds do not ask for permission to fly. They just do it. That's what they were created to do. The fish in the ocean, they are masters of the waters. They don't say, oh, well, I don't know if they just swim. That they're geniuses in the water. Think about flowers for a moment. A flower does not wonder, is my neighbor blooming or not? That one is a pink color. How come I am blue? The flower just blooms. They do not ask for anybody's permission. God put you here with an assignment that is meant to change the world. Each of you is a world changer. Each of you is necessary. God does not waste resources. You're here because you're necessary. And so, if you are to step out in courage, if you're to step out into the fullness of who you're meant to be, you are serving humanity. You are leaving a mark that will be felt for generations to come. So, ladies and gentlemen, birds don't ask for permission to fly. Fish don't ask for permission to swim. Flowers do not ask for permission to bloom. Do not ask for anyone's permission to be great and amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, go out and change the world. God bless.
My goodness, please, can I hear your claps? Can can I hear real applause? Because oh,
Wow. Hey.
let's just go to the chat box. Let's just, if this is a way for you to anchor, he runs a program called Anchor. It's a 30-day coaching program, and it's he has summarized it in an amazing way. I've just signed all my siblings to the, you guys know Rispa, Catherine. I put all of them in that program, because if I talk to them, they're like, what is Job saying? It's- and I'm like, no, I know someone who has a razor that is a surgeon, can dissect and remove the tumor from the identity. So let me put them there. That's a program that I would have wanted to get in, but he told me no, he'll keep coaching me, giving me those gems. But that's a program that I would absolutely recommend. It's a 30-day program. It's you'll walk away with something valuable. But I want you to just, in no more than 12 words, just share in the chat box. This is how we amplify the depth of what Dr. Dindi has shared, because he is also will be seeing some of what he shared through your eyes, but you will be narrowing it down as much as possible. Let's go to the chat box. Just see if you would summarize Dr. Dindi's presentation in 12 words, 12, 15 words, not 30 words, just really short. What did you take away from Dr. Dindi's talk? Just go to the chat box and drop it. We will read some of them. Go to the chat box and share. Dr. Dindi, I'm going to ask you one or two questions as a follow-up, so I would kindly ask you to come back on video as people drop their gems that they've picked. Doc, I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and for sharing. It's your genius is in storytelling. It's how you used that verse, for example, forsaking all else. You have a way of illustrating the points in an indelible manner. I know your journey. You've always been geared towards action, but it's generally action that is serving other people. You may not remember it. I think it was August 20, not September 23rd or 24th. My first weekend at Moi University. I arrived on Thursday. On Friday, I did a bit of shopping. Then on that Saturday, we crossed the river to that side called, we went to a field. I don't remember the name of the place, but it's in Eldoret. The university is on one side, you cross over Sosioni River to the other side. You were there with a group of other people, and you had us do a series of icebreakers that helped us gel as a class. And that's how I ended up meeting many of the people that are still my friends. And that has been you. I have seen you run plays during medical school, getting people to act out and communicate messages, all through you to becoming a catalyst for Dr. Esther Dindi, becoming her catalyst to get her to write a book, to run the Fit Sisters, to becoming Dr. Fitness, and then eventually for you to actually now show up beyond the hospital, because you have been part of the engine that is driving her. What drives Dr. Dindi?
Man, you've taken me way back. It's interesting remembering those moments, and it's amazing the impact of some of those things you do. Someone can remember them all these years down the line, man. I really appreciate that. I think for me, knowing God makes all the difference. I think a lot comes from my work with God. I realized when I was pretty young, I was quite sickly as a kid. So I had a tumor in my neck when I was just 9 years old. And it was terrible. Finally, when I got surgery, I realized that I am not here forever. So from, I think, a young age, facing such life death moments, it kind of gives you a bit of perspective. So from age 9, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a surgeon, because I saw so much suffering in those days in the hospital. But I think moving on to now, as an adult, my my drive comes a lot from that sense of identity. And that's why I really believe strongly in the power of knowing who you truly are. And so when you meet you, and I always tell people, if you find somebody who's jealous of others, it's only because they do not know themselves. When you discover who you truly are, you can never be jealous of someone else. The scriptures put it this way, that we have something that is exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask or imagine. Like even our greatest imagination does not begin to touch whom we truly are. So I think that sense of identity is so crucial. But the other bit that has made maybe my last 5 years has made me live with a bit of urgency over the last 5 years. I got a diagnosis, a cancer diagnosis in 2019. And as even as medics, there are those things that we never imagine will happen to us, But when I got that diagnosis, and it was such a terrible diagnosis, I had not seen anyone surviving that. So I just felt like this is it. I remember writing a letter to my wife and telling her, I know I'm dying, and don't feel guilty. I'm okay if you remarry. I will not be turning around in the grave. Like I knew, I knew that was it. And through God's amazing works, I'm still alive and well. I really thank God. But that again made me realize that this idea that tomorrow is assured is one of the greatest lies of life. And it really steals from our possibilities. And so I live with that sense of urgency, knowing that I only have a specific time in history to make a mark, and then I'll be gone. But for me now, that sense of what is it I can do today that needs to get done, I should not push that to tomorrow. When I look at my children, when I look at what I'm building, I know I have a responsibility for today. I usually say there are only two things we've been given in life. We've been given today and choice. That's it. So you have today and you have choice. What can you do with the today? And that's it. And so if we use those properly, essentially we'll be managing our time well, and we'll be making the right choices. And those really are the things that drive me. How can I best honor God with the gift of today and the gift of choice that He's given me?
Wow. That's just beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. You are one of the most collected persons. You may not remember this. One morning at the hostels we were living in Eldoret, around 7:30 thereabout, and there is a thief being beaten in one of the hostel bathrooms. And I am standing by the staircase with Gregory Okwengu, whom you may remember. And then the people are running all over the place about this thief. What does Dr. Keith do? It was on the ground floor. You used to stay on that ground floor on the side near Mamba, if you know. See, he walks out of his room, he has a bag, and he just walks, and he doesn't even look the direction that the chaos is. Just walks, stands, and I see him disappear. I have seen you do a version of that where in the midst of chaos, you exude a certain unexplainable kind of level-headedness and quiet. And sometimes you may not even know that people are noticing that that's an attribute that you carry, perhaps which actually brings solace and comfort wherever you are. What is the source of this? Today I've learned, even after having known you this long, I've learned elements of your story that help me see you in a new light and to begin to make sense of just how you are, the person you are. But tell me a bit from what you perceive of yourself. This it's like you're like a deep well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. I get that a lot. It doesn't hit me as something that I do intentionally. So there was one of our employees that was moving from Kenya, going for the business that I talked about that we started. We now employ probably 16, 17 people. So one of our employees was moving to Canada. And so she was writing a few things to the people. And when she came to me, she said, you're the most calm person I've ever met. And so I wondered, oh, okay, that's strange. But I think there's a statement I love. It says, when there is peace within, the enemy without can do you no harm. Um, Essentially meaning when you're solid in your identity, it doesn't matter what else is happening around you. You guys remember the story in the Bible of Christ when he was in the boat, and literally the waves and everything was going on all over the place, and he was asleep. Not just asleep. The scripture there say he was asleep on a pillow, like comfortably sleeping. He knew he was a son of God. This wave would do nothing to him. So I think for me, knowing whom I am, especially in God, it really settles my spirit. And I realize you become a better person when your insides are always grounded and calm. The best decisions we make them when we are calm. As a surgeon, I realized I used to work with some surgeons that would be throwing instruments when things were going wrong and creating chaos, screaming in theater, chasing people. But I realized when I instead come into the OR room and even when things are tough, I'm talking to people in a calm, there's a certain mood that everybody has around you. And so I said, it's better to always bring that peace around. Lastly, maybe I'll mention this story that I shared last week online. When I was working in Aussie, I once got into a patient's room. She was a white lady, and when she saw me, she asked me where is her food. She assumed I was the orderly who brings food and cleans the rooms. So she was like, "Where's my food? It has delayed." And so I was with another surgeon who's a white surgeon who was actually my junior. And so he was so embarrassed, like his face was red with embarrassment. And I told the lady, it's okay, we'll organize for your food. We're sorry that there's been some delay in that area. Then I introduced myself, talked very calmly. So when we walked out, this gentleman looked at me and said, how, like, how did how did you not react? Like, how do you? And I told him, it's because I know who I am. Like, there's nothing somebody will say that will change that. And so I choose to believe the best of people. Maybe she just not used to seeing black hat surgeons. Like, I was the only one in the whole department. And at the end of, by the time we were discharging that lady, we were such great friends. I have a note from her that she gave me as she was leaving, a note that she's, and on it was written to Dr. Dindi, my surgeon. And so I realized we give back what we truly are on our insides. We don't see the world the way it is. We see the world the way we are. And so when you have peace within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. I leave it at that.
That's just profound. I'm so grateful that we could have you today, and I'm sure are you blessed? Are you grateful that can you show by some kind of reaction on your profile, thumbs up? I don't want you to make noise because if you all make noise, this Zoom will crash. Yes, right, Dr. Dini, you see all these comments that have come through. This is shared learning, and I recorded this. I will not share this in publicly. It will just be available to the people who was subscribed to the smaller group, so that because I would want you to rewatch. Trust me, you've not squeezed out the juice in what Dr. Dindi gave us. Those four, especially the trap of procrastination, the freedom of action, all the four, plus all the additional points that he gave, there is just gold here. There is gold, and I would love for you to come back and digest. I will share contacts with in the groups, so that if you want to experience the Anchor 30-day program, absolutely you should be able to do so. I'm going to request if somebody could offer to do a vote of thanks. I hadn't assigned anyone. I just want somebody to volunteer to do vote of thanks. In the meantime, as you prepare to embrace freedom of action, it's your opportunity. I'm going to read a few of the reflections that have come through. Thanks, Dr. Dindi. Faith, action, don't ask permission, just do it. That's from Rachel Mary Joy. And unstoppable, I'm unstoppable, and that's my identity. I love it. Bernard says opportunities have a half-life. Yes, opportunities have a half-life. There's something we call the law of diminishing intent. You wanted to do it today, by Friday, the intent is weaker by far. Lois says innovate from your identity. Freedom of action. Shiro, the 4 concepts, and Shiro is one of the best at reflecting. If you want a summary of a presentation, just wait for Shiro to drop it. It will have the final points. Thank you, Shiro, always. James of Wambu Creations, I do not need permission to be a world class. Action, action, action. Absolutely. I could read maybe 2 more before we get the volunteer who is embracing the freedom of action. Esther says, thank you for the wisdom shared, Dr. Dindi. Thank you, Esther, for thanking Dr. Dindi. Kerubo, when there is peace within, the enemy without can do you no harm. This is the reason why I would want you to rewatch it, because it has the main piece, and then there's a lot of icing that actually makes the main piece very rich. I would want you to rewatch this presentation. Isabel says, identity gives you the calmness you need. Know who you are in God. Betty introducing me to me. Yes, Betty, I'll just find one more, then we will close this part. Faith, welcome back, Faith. Faith says, action, action, always. Do not ask anyone for permission to change. I am unique. That's a great point to finish off. There has been a lot of value shared today. I hope that you walk away feeling that this was a worthwhile way to spend your first 1.5 hours of Saturday today. Today is the last day of Momentum 90. There is going to be a break. Then the next program will be something different, and it will have a totally different format than what we've done before. And I will share those details. For now, I'm going to kindly request, could we have a volunteer to give a vote of thanks, and then we'll close. Who is volunteering? If there is no volunteer, I will embrace the freedom of action and appoint one.
Dr. Mogire.
All right, Sylvia. Thank you. Thank you, Sylvia. Please stick it.
Yes, I want to take this opportunity. I haven't been a participant of this particular challenge, but I can see, just like the momentum and the breakthrough challenge that we had last year, that there's been a lot of impact. I want to thank you, Dr. Mogire, for keeping on with the good work, and congratulations to you and the team for this challenge that's just concluding. Like Gladys said, there's still a lot of impact that people will continue to feel, the impact of this program that will be felt throughout the year, and people will have a lot of good things to say about what they learned. I was in the 2 programs at the beginning of last year, and the impact does not stop. I can list for you many things that I could say I have done specifically because of having participated in the 2 programs. To Gladys, thank you for chairing this sharing session this morning. Thank you for showing us what consistency means, and that there are results. In the accountability group, I know I had been inactive for quite a while, but when I came back and I had the input, or rather the sharing of Gladys, I said, oh, just for missing a bit of time, it's a different story that's coming out. And you know how when you go away and you come back to something and you see like someone gained weight, if you're with them every day,
You don't see it, right? But if you haven't seen them in 2 months and suddenly you see them and you're very different. That's the feeling I had when I was away and came back to listen to Gladys' testimony in our accountability group. And so thank you, Gladys, for showing us what accountability can achieve. Dr. Dindi, I had the first opportunity to listen to you. And I think I speak for everyone when I say you are absolutely inspiring. The story that you gave about the patient who came in with and you had a diagnosis for a cancer that could be treated surgically, and they went away. And the fact that they went away and came back and they had lost the opportunity, that was a morbid example, but also very real, telling us what the cost of inaction is, how just going away for a bit or not doing anything for a bit could be the difference between making it and actually not. And that for me is a big takeaway. Thank you so much for sharing your stories, your experiences. It really shows that you have done the work and you have a lot that we can all learn from. And it's interesting how effortlessly your answers come out, because they are it comes off to me and probably to everyone that it comes from a very deep, settled place of work has been done. When you said in the end that we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are, I was like, oh my goodness. How can that just come out of someone without, reference to something? It's like super deep. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Dindi. We look forward to further interactions, and everyone else. I'm so happy to see all the other people who we had been within the program before, and the new people and the new faces. It was lovely to have met you all. Thank you, Dr. Mogire. Back to you.
Wow, that's a beautiful vote of thanks, and that is just Sylvia style. You're always calm and you just execute. It's like you're doing it effortlessly. I appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. That is the end of Momentum 90. I hope that in the course of the program, you instigated some intentional progress that will continue to give you momentum in this year, 2025. Remember, we were building for 31st December 2025. So this was just the beginning. Now let's carry on and repeat. As Dr. Dindi said, we've learned, it's time to practice until we master. And then eventually we can innovate and create new things. But for now, continue to learn, continue to practice, continue to develop mastery of your evening reset, your morning reset, your power hour, your 2-minute start, your daily courage act, the scaffolds. Go on and build. That will be the end of this program and the end of this meeting. It's been my absolute honor, my pleasure, my favorite thing to do every weekend to host Momentum 90. I can't wait to engage with you again in the subsequent programs, and of course by email and WhatsApp. Have a wonderful day. Again, Dr. Dindi, man, thank you. I would have said Igwe, but I've already said Igwe. So, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing very beautiful reflections. I will copy these reflections and send them to the WhatsApp groups. Where I come from, they call me Chovu. My name is Dr. Job Mogire from the House of Mastery. Have a great day, great weekend, and talk to you all soon. Goodbye.